Howdy guys, Radio Magic here. I hope you are all having a fantastic morning, day, afternoon or evening, wherever you are and whatever you are up to. Today we are back on the channel testing how viable is control in the historic meta, and whether you're trying to make your opponent's lives as miserable as possible, or maybe you're just trying to climb to mythic. Whatever your reason, we're playing some more control. You're here for the right reasons. So this week we're trying Izzet Control. Izzet's a really weird one because it sits in a pretty unique spot. I asked the question to myself when building this list is why are we not playing Jeskai Control and why are we not playing Azorius? Because if you're looking for a two-color combination of control, maybe Azorius is correct. We'll find out maybe towards the end of this video, or we'll see how the games go overall. Or if you're looking for, in my opinion, a more competitive list, Jeskai is probably the answer. We have Lightning Helix and other things in the format that I would argue make adding white necessary to a control list. But nevertheless, we're here to try out different variants of control and test which ones are great, which ones are not so great, and maybe the weaknesses with each color and what each color brings to the conversation. So I'm not going to go into a full deck tech because I'm trying to make these videos as short as possible, but I will explain some of the rationale for some of my decisions. If you're not interested in listening to that rationale, go down to the description below. You'll find timestamps for all of the videos. You'll also find a deck list down there, so feel free, if you want to play this deck, maybe make a few edits or whatever, maybe watch the video first, see how it gets on before you decide if you want to spend your wild cards. But if you do end up trying the list, let me know in the comments down below how you get on with it, because I love hearing other people's results and how they find it. But overall, this is the direction I've decided to take Izzet Control in. I've decided to lean pretty hard on the Narset Commit Memory combo and adding Prismari Command in there. So Prismari Command is the new Izzet command that was released. Depending on how you want to say that, maybe you want to call it Prismari or Izzet. I'll leave that up to you, whether you're a new or old Magic player. But 3 mana instant, choose 2. It can either deal 2 damage to any target, target player draws 2 cards and then discards 2 cards, target player creates a treasure token, or you can destroy a target artifact. All of these modes come up a little bit, and I mentioned this when we played this in Jeskai. Prismari Command feels very much like all of the modes are a bit meh, like they're okay, but none of them make the card particularly playable. But when you combine this with Narset static ability, and in your opponent's upkeep making them draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards, obviously they can draw 1 card and then they must discard a card along with another card. So draw 1, discard 2, but then they have to skip their draw step. It's actually like phenomenally powerful, along in combination with memory lapse can actually allow, like, trap your opponent for multiple turns. If you can empty your opponent's hand and then answer what opponent's got on board, they just essentially can't draw anymore. If they're empty-handed, you can Prismari Command in their upkeep to make them draw 2 and then discard them straight away, and then they skip their draw steps, so they don't get a turn. And if you have memory lapse in hand, you can just keep putting your opponent's cards back on top of their library and stop them from basically having another turn. Their turns are predicted, and when you're playing a control list, what is better than predicting every single one of your opponent's turns and just locking them completely in place? So because we're taking this direction with Narset Static and Prismari Command and the Memory Lapse sort of combo, we've decided to include Commit Memory as well, which each player shuffles their hand and library into their hand and graveyard into their library and then draws 7 cards. Obviously, in combination with Narset, this means your opponent's only going to draw 1 card because Memory is a sorcery, and you get to draw 7. So pretty good effect. Normally, you want to be casting Commit Memory off of the back of a Torrential Gearhulk, but I've decided not to include Torrential Gearhulks in this list because I wanted to keep the curve as low as possible, and we don't want to be running too many creatures because we're running Search Rescanter and Narset Parter of Veils. Maybe it's correct to be running Torrential Gearhulks, some number of them, 2 at the least, but I really wanted to make the list as consistent as possible. That being said, I have made one inclusion of Brazen Borrower. Brazen Borrower, it's got Petty Theft or Brazen Borrower, but the problem is it's going to have, I feel, above any other control list that we play, because we're not running black for hard removal, and we're not running white for board wipes or cast out, so we've got no way to answer solid, like, big creatures, maybe like an Elder Gargaroth or something like that. A lot of our stuff either deals 2 or 3 damage, and Chandra being exclusion at 4, so I think we're really going to struggle. So we've got Petty Theft to bounce our opponent's creatures, the big ones, and then maybe we can counter them on the way back, or maybe just buy us enough time, and then Commit to Memory to also put some of them permanents back on top, second from the top of our opponent's library. So interesting how this is going to do. I think we're really going to struggle. My prediction is we're going to struggle on answering big creatures and maybe keeping up with card advantage, because outside of Chandra, we haven't really got any reliable ways to generate card advantage. Search Rescanter is quite a costly investment, though it does generate quite a bit of card advantage. And Narset is I mean, she can 2-for-1 our opponent, but that's pretty much it. She doesn't offer a reliable source of card advantage. So that being said, we will get on with some games. Let me know what you guys think. If we make any blinding misplays, then please do throw them in the comments down below. And maybe if I mention the misplay, don't throw it down there unless you just want to berate me a little bit more, which I'm fine with as well. But maybe we missed something that I didn't point out on stream. So let me know. Let me know all of them misplays that sort of come up, because I want to make myself a better player at the same time. And yeah, if you guys end up trying Izzet Control, let me know how you get on with it, because it's always exciting to know how other people get on. And let me know if you think we should be playing Izzet Control, or whether you just think Jeskai or Azorius is better. Maybe you think Esper or Demir as well. So let all your thoughts down below. I love interacting with you guys in that front. But like I said, I'm going to shut up and I'll catch you again at the end with a wrap up. Okay, so we are back in Historic Best of 3, giving some more Izzet/Prismari Control a go to see how it performs overall. And yeah, this hand looks really reasonable. We've got Searchers Cantor to hopefully find us more lands, and Brazen Borrower for a bit of tempo. I guess we'll wait till our opponent's end step to fetch for this Fable Passage. Okay, looks like our opponent's on Jeskai. Maybe a 4-colour list. Fortunately, we are going to get to resolve this Searchers Cantor though, which will hopefully be quite good. Looks like our opponent might be on Jeskai. Gonna graveyard that. We kind of do want that in the graveyard anyway. And yeah, tap land is sweet. I guess it would have been good to have Sauric coming up. I don't think this is going to be a matchup where Electrolyze is great. We could foretell Sauric coming, but I think it's probably best to represent Memory Lapse. Yeah, so opponent's on a Jeskai Control variant. Be interesting to see how these perform. I have a feeling that Jeskai is probably better. But you never know. We only know through testing. Yeah, we will library a Sulphur Falls, and then we're probably just going to go for the Cycle Shark Typhoon. Ah, opponent's on the like Torrential Gearhulk variant. It's like flashback this for Torrential Gearhulk. Okay, so opponent's doing some foretelling. Looks like they're missing their land drop as well. Probably the reason that they decided to discard the Magma Opus to make a treasure. Oh, no, only 2. So yeah, Electrolyze probably isn't going to be that great in this matchup. Maybe we can... Yeah, let's probably graveyard this. We really need to find lands. Maybe we can ping like a Narset or Teferi or something. Now I probably will... Yeah, I think I will hold off. Actually, no, let's foretell. And then we can either flash in the Brazen Borrower or counter something. Electrolyze, Prismari Command. Got all of our options open. The alternative is maybe we wanted to bounce something Brazen Borrower. But I think we're just going to flash this out now. Trying to put some more pressure on our opponent. Because if we untap with multiple counter spells here, then we're in a good situation. How many cards do we have in the graveyard? 4, so putting this into the graveyard is not going to do much. Probably going to still keep this. We need to hit our land drops, and a Scryland's always good. So if we keep this, Searchers Cantor is going to trigger. I guess we could always Electrolyze and draw this. I think Shark Typhoon's good at this point. So opponent's on quite a bit of a clock here, which is one of the reasons I decided to include Brazen Borrower, just for that added pressure. I think our opponent's really struggling on mana. I don't see any reason to let them have this. Opponent's clearly struggling. They could have a Memory Lapse here. And they use the treasure. I'm kind of happy to... don't want to draw Saw It Coming, I don't think. So we'll just counter the Memory Lapse. We've got our plan with Shark Typhoon. We could get punished here by like a Deafening Clarion, but we've got 5 points of burn in hand, along with a Shark Typhoon on the top of our deck. Okay, just Wrath of God. Yeah, we are going to library that. But now we have a Transform Searchless Cancer. And our opponent did burn their treasure, so they're no longer accelerating on mana. A bit far behind. So we'll do this for 5. And then, yeah, with Prismari Command and Electrolyze, I guess it's quite likely that we're going to be able to just burn our opponent out. I think we just go now. No reason to wait. Just finish them off. And then, yep, shoot him in response. I guess we'll create a treasure. Sweet. So our opponent did get a bit screwed on lands there, which fair enough. Maybe it would have gone down differently had they have drawn their lands. I don't think this is a matchup where we necessarily want to bring in Bonecrusher Giant. I'm not sure. We definitely want our Mystical Disputes and our Negates. Our opponent's on the Torrential Gear Hulk flashback plan, so I don't know if Grafdigger's Cage is something we want. If it is, then it's probably something we're bringing out. Commit Memory. So what else we're cutting first? Definitely taking out these Sweltering Suns. And I think Electrolyze is something that can go. Maybe we want to bring in one cage. I mean, we could cut both commits and bring in the cages. I mean, I don't know how good they're going to be. They sort of like shut down what our opponent's up to. They're planning on like flashing this back with Torrential Gear Hulk, but outside that, they're just a control list. So if we top deck multiple Grafdigger's Cages, it doesn't feel really good. Maybe we like split the difference. I guess actually I'd rather just bring in the Chandras. Because commit at the end of the day is still a counter spell. It might be a little bit expensive, but maybe run it like that. We could bring in the Bonecrusher Giants for some extra pressure. I guess we'll play the next game and see how it goes, and then decide if we want to bring in more burn, like Bonecrusher Giant and Electrolyze. Okay, so on the draw this time, and our opponents decided to snap keep their 7, and I think we're going to keep this as well. It's a little bit reliant on us drawing lands, but we have some protection in the meantime. Our lands are a little bit dodgy, but hopefully we'll be alright. Going to start with Sulphur Falls. Opponent's given us the good game already. We're going to start with Sulphur Falls, though it's much more likely that the Castle of Enchantress would enter tapped if we drew like a mountain or something. Sulphur Falls would enter untapped, it's more likely. But we could draw a red spell. Don't think it's worth tapping down here. At the very least, we could just cycle Shark Typhoon to try and hit our land drops, which I think we might do above flashing out the Brazen Borrower. I assume our opponent kept in their Lightning Helixes. Obviously don't know what they're boarding. Okay, so no land. Just gonna probably discard this commit to memory. Gonna Prismari Command here. We're gonna draw 2 cards and then we're gonna create a treasure token as well. Try and ramp us a little bit and draw a little bit. I know obviously we're supposed to be using the Prismari Command in combination with Narset, but I think in this situation it's fine to try and hit our land drops. So our opponent's going to memory lapse, and knowing we're missing a land drop, we're going to have to draw it again and just repeat our turn. Not really too much we can do about that. We could do it main phase maybe to try and hit lands. But if our opponent counters it and then goes to Fairy on their turn, then we're in a spot of bother. I guess we'll start with a Mystical Dispute, and if our opponent wants to tap down, then I guess that's fine. We don't want to draw our Mystical Dispute again. I guess we wouldn't. They're going to draw their Mystical Dispute. We'd rather than our set to be countered. Okay, so opponent's even holding up Mystical Dispute for our turn. Opponent found the Teferi. Let's smack an set for 1. It's an opportunity to resolve Search Rescanter. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have another Mystical Dispute. Looks like they don't. And then hopefully Search can find us lands. We could have Prismari Command. Well, I guess actually we can't because of Narset. There's a good chance our opponent can force through this Teferi. Yeah, like a memory lapse or something. Yep. And then we're going to be forced to draw that again. I guess we'll bin the Mystical Dispute. At least they're giving up their Narset. Okay, opponent's at a point where they can definitely cast that. I think we're going to have to graveyard this and the search for lands. I mean, it makes sense. We've had a game where we've struggled to lands and our opponents had a game where they've struggled. Hopefully we'll have a fair game 3. So we only have the 1 counter spell either way. I still think we have to... Maybe we're just like Brazen Borrowing now. Maybe it's better to do it in their turn. The opponent's discarding it. It's probably worth attacking our opponent if we're going to bounce the Teferi, but at the same time, I still think it's worth it just in case our opponent had an answer to the Brazen Borrow. And then hopefully we're just going to make our opponent use another counter spell, I guess. And then they've got Absorb mana up now. Yeah, I'm going to graveyard that. So a bit of a sticky situation here. I guess we foretell saw it coming, and then we've got Prismari Command for next turn. We won't be activating Search Rescanter. We could foretell this and then cast an Narset next turn. And then with Counterspell, but I guess it's not really working out for us. We could just flash in Brazen Borrow with Prismari Command. I'm just going to Narset. Our opponent's likely to have an Absorb. I think we're sort of falling out of it now. Okay, they had Dove into Veto. It wouldn't have mattered. So I'm relatively happy we just made the decision we made. If the Teferi is on 1 less loyalty, then I think opting to flash in Brazen Borrow is probably better. Yep, gonna scoop it up there. Opponent gets to flash back Magma Opus. Sweet, so we missed quite a few land drops. Did we see anything different from our opponent that would make us want to change how we are playing? I mean, opponent's definitely sticking on the Torrential plan, so Grafdigger's Cage might be okay. Commit to Memory feels like it's just going to be a little bit slow. Maybe we just bring in 1 cage. If we draw it, it's great. If we don't, then it's fine. But we don't want to find duplicates of it. But we know 1 cage will shut down this flashback plan. Because it looked like even then, when our opponent had the mana to cast Magma Opus, they decided to put it into the graveyard and discard it anyway. So they're probably quite heavily on this Torrential Gearhold plan. So maybe one cage is okay. Okay, so we are on the play, hoping that our opponent has a turn 1 Triome so we can resolve the Search Canter. And then if we get the Search Canter down, there's a good chance we'll hit our land drops. So we're going to keep. And if we can get to 3 lands, then End Step Prismari Command is not necessarily something that our opponent wants to counter. Sweet, so opponent decided not to shock in. They have their own. Gonna graveyard anything that isn't a land at the moment. Shame our opponent also got their own Search Canter down. I'm not sure if they're running Cast Outs. We haven't. Oh, they're also running Pathways. I think I'm going to go for the draw 2, create a treasure. It's going to flip our Search Canter a little bit quicker and ramp us with the treasure. So we'll discard a negate and a land. Because we need to hold on to some of our counter spells. How many cards do we have in graveyard? 4. You can library this. I guess this would be 5. Fable Passage would be 6. If we count up one of our opponent's spells, it would be 7. Or we flip for turn. Yeah, I guess we will graveyard this. So I guess we'll get to flip Search Canter next turn. Opponent's also doing a good job of filling the graveyard. Okay, looks like a game where neither of us are struggling to find lands. Yeah, let's go get an island. Definitely, I think, going to graveyard this. Yeah, we've got 6 cards. That's graveyard. And hopefully we'll add some pressure here by transforming our Search Canter before our opponent. Look at that, we drew another one. So I guess this is, we'll keep a land because we'd like to draw land, but it's not going to matter too much. Because we're probably just going to be activating Search Canter here. We'd love to resolve this Chandra, but it's highly unlikely that's going to happen. But I guess our opponent's sort of forced to make the first move if we're activating Search Canter. Oh, nice. I guess, I mean, Chandra's a good one. Opponent could, like, Torrential Gearhold next turn, get back Magma Opus. I don't think it's that great. To Chandra here, straight past our opponent's counter spells. Not much they can do about this. I guess if they had Commit Memory, they could do something. Okay, I like this. I have high hopes if our opponent's just activating Castle Vantress here. If we can just get a few more activations of the Chandra, I think we're going to be in good stead. Our opponent's got an opportunity here to resolve something. Maybe they want to get down there to Fairy. Or just flash in Torrential Gearhold. Okay, they're going for the cast Shark Typhoon. We're going to use our treasure to stop this. And then we get to cast the Torch of Defiance. Oh, yeah, that's nail in the coffin there. Yeah, 6 mana Chandra, pretty good. And yeah, with Izzet bringing us up into Mythic. So finally got there at the end. And now we're going to be playing against the best of the best, I guess. So let's see how Izzet can do. Okay, so fresh into Mythic with Izzet Control. And it did really well last game, but we had a game where we got mana screwed, our opponent got mana screwed, and then I think just 6 mana Chandra brought it home when our opponent had probably a handful of counter spells. But anyway, on to game 2. What do we think of this hand? Search Canter is good, Electrolyze is good. Guess we'll keep it. We're on the draw, so hopefully our opponent's not too fast. Temple of Silence probably not renowned for being one of the faster lands. But I could definitely see a hand hate spell here. Take the Search Canter away from us. Nope. So going to get to resolve this. Electrolyze doesn't strike me as amazing in a matchup like this. Maybe we're on like against like a Doom Foretold list, or opponent's done nothing turn 1 and 2. Okay. I'm a little bit stumped for what we're against. I think we're going to Graveyard Sweltering Suns. I don't know if we're going to need it, and with double Electrolyze at the moment, I think we'll be okay. Okay, so this does nothing. This is just an ETB. So we'll hold on to Electrolyze at the moment, but I'm really not sure what our opponent's against, what they're on. We'll take our 2 to represent a counterspell. Gonti. Yeah, I guess we'll let Gonti resolve. It's a shame. Always feels bad. I mean, opponents of like mono black, splashing white, maybe. Just ping our opponent for a little bit. Try and flip this Search Counter as soon as possible. Yeah, we'll library that. Yeah, I think we're just going to get Chandra down maybe and shoot this Gonti. And then if our opponent, like, Vraska's contempts Chandra, at least we got some value out of it. I guess maybe we should have ticked up in case our opponent has, like, an Electrolyze or Prismari command off of us. Because that's going to feel really bad if our opponent Electrolyzes here. No, Meadow Spider. That's okay.
Guess you don't need me anymore.
Gonna Graveyard extra lands. We are on schedule to transform Searcher's Counter this turn. Yeah, I mean, not much we can do. Do have an Electrolyze if our opponent wants to flash out the Brazen Borrower. I think they actually can't. I think they need blue to do this. They just had the bounce effect. Could have had a lot worse of a card. Okay, so opponent, I assume, is getting back Gonti. Again, not much we can do. Just going to have to allow our opponent to have this. Okay, they're not. Yeah, that's fine. We'll obviously use the Fable Passage after our opponent exiles our graveyard. This works out pretty well for us with Electrolyze, though. We'll shuffle first. I don't really know what our opponent's on. I guess they could be on a ton of different things, but we get a 2-for-1 here. I guess the Blood Mage was free, so maybe not exactly a 2-for-1. I guess we're probably just discarding some of these lands to Prismari Command. Transform our Searcher's Canto a bit quicker. Yep. This is going to keep our Searcher's Canto off of being transformed. Yep. So, gonna draw, and Kaya is on 4 loyalty, so I guess in case we draw an Electrolyze or something, we'll ping Kaya. We don't really need the treasure at this point.
Usually I'm better at dodging.
So, just discard extra lands. Graveyard, we're drawing a lot of lands. So probably just going to command now to take down this Narset and this Kaya. And we'll draw some extra cards, get Searcher's Canto a little bit closer to flipping. I guess just discard 2 lands again. We'll take the hit from Murderous Rider this turn to hold up Memory Lapse, just to protect our Searcher's Canto, and Chandra looks good. And then we get to transform Searcher's Canto, and hopefully we can take over with card advantage after that. Yeah, take the hit. Gonti, don't want to allow our opponent to have that Chandra. That would be quite devastating. So I think we are going to tick up, because we have 4 mana. 5 mana even. Guess we're just pinging our opponent. And yeah, I don't think we need a Sweltering Suns. I'd rather activate Azcanta. Okay, opponent's going to get to Gonti again. Gonti's a good one. Electrolyze doesn't do much on this. I guess Sweltering Suns takes out both of them, and then we get 2 Memory Lapse. Let's tick up.
Today's my lucky day.
Yeah, I think Mono Black is going to struggle to answer a Shark Typhoon. We'll give our opponent the opportunity to resolve something, I guess. We'll lose our Shark here, but we get to protect our Chandra. But I think Mono Black is going to struggle to answer Shark Typhoon unless they've got a Brazen Borrower as the extra card that they exiled from us.
Yep.
I mean, drew a Narset. I'll take a free Narset though. And a free Shark. Okay, so opponent's card was Saw It Coming. Just let this go. I think that's fine. Still got a Shark, and we get to cast the Narset from our hand. And then we still have the Memory Lapse for our opponent's turn. Gonna scoop it up there. It also shuts down their Phyrexian Arena. So it looks like our opponent's just on like Mono Black value. It looks like all of their creatures die to Sweltering Suns and Anger of the Gods, which is pretty nice. I think we are going to bring in this extra anger because our opponent's using their graveyard a little bit. For the same reason, I wonder if it's worth bringing in Cage. Doesn't do anything to Gonti. I guess it shuts down Null Priest. Doesn't really feel worth it. I don't know what we want to cut here. Maybe just a commit memory. Could be an argument to Bone Crusher Giant because it kills quite a bit of what our opponent's got going on as well as blocks pretty well. Our main deck feels pretty equipped to deal with what our opponent's up to. So, on the draw this time, and this has to be a pretty clear mulligan. Yeah, we can keep this. Our lands are going to enter tapped, unfortunately, but what can you do? Feel like we're going to bottom this Electrolyze. Maybe Command, actually. Difficult choice. I think we need to keep the Sweltering Suns. Yeah, let's bottom the Electrolyze. And then if we draw Narset, we've got the Command combo. Okay, so we didn't see any Four.Vs this game 1. Got to imagine if your opponents... I think we only saw black cards from them last game, apart from Kaya. I think it's worth taking the 2 damage and giving our opponent the information just to put that in foretell. I don't think we want a Prismari Command here, because it's just the card disadvantage is not something we want at the moment. I don't think we need to stop this as well. We should easily be able to 2-for-1 this, that if our opponent draws here, it's not going to matter too much. Okay, Locthwain is maybe a little bit of an issue, but when we played Jeskai and we had all of this burn, definitely in a situation where if our opponent falls too low on life, they could be in trouble. Looks like they're just trying to pressure this Sweltering Suns out of our hand. We're going to bite. Especially since we have Saw It coming up. Our opponent knows we've got it, but... yeah, that's fine. Gonna counter a Gonti here. Okay, no Gonti. So opponent's got their castle, we've got ours. Let's see, we can pull ahead. So opponent's gonna take 4 here, maybe. No. Okay, opponent's just passing the turn. I think this favours us in the long haul. Yeah, happy to just let Murderous Rider go here. I think we can deal with a 2-3. Kind of like both of these. I mean, at the moment, Electrolyze is just a shock, a 3-mana free shock. I guess Brazen Borrower can bounce this Murderous Rider back to our opponent's hand. Maybe we can just do better than Electrolyze. But I kind of like bounce the Murderous Rider. And then I assume our opponent won't play it because they'll want to shoot our Brazen Borrower. But then we get to just activate Castle Vantress. Okay, so this can only take Prismari Command. And then, yeah, I assume my opponent just doesn't recast it. Unless they've got more removal spells. Okay, so opponent has more removal, but I'm kind of happy to bite here. Could also saw it coming, the removal spell. Yeah, we're going to saw it coming, the Murderous Rider, if they cast it here. I can do it in our turn. We also stop, obviously, the Swift, the Murderous Rider when our opponent recasts it. I think it's worth saw it coming here. We put our opponent to 9 and force them to answer the Brazen Borrower. It might be correct just to hold on to that. I guess we'll hold on to the information since we're planning on using Castle this turn. The lifelink's going to mean this is going to take a little bit longer. Okay, yeah, so opponent had to use a second removal spell. And they're left with 1 card in hand. I think we should be able to take over here. I think we can do better than Memory Lapse. I guess we get to Memory Lapse and hold Castle next turn. So we can just buy ourselves a turn. We do need to find an answer to this Murderous Rider. Yeah, I think we can do better than Electrolyze as well. Shouldn't be too difficult to find an answer to Murderous Rider. I guess what we're really looking for here is like a Chandra. Like a Narset maybe. Shark Typhoon would also be okay. I guess Memory Lapse, Gonti's fine. Maybe we can find a Saw It Coming next turn. Yeah, Narset's great. Opponent is going to get to Gonti us, so would love to find a counter spell. Nope, just a whiff. Shame. I would have loved for our opponent to have Gonti'd us. And got 4 lands. But it's unlikely there's going to be 8 lands in a row. So opponent's definitely going to get some goodies. And we essentially wasted our Narset.
You cannot see your folly.
Yep, going to have to just allow our opponent to take something here. Really unfortunate we missed on Narset there. Guess Prismari Command's gone up in value now. But there's a ton of things our opponent could have got off of our deck there that's going to be a bit of a pain. Don't think Brazen Borrower is that good here. Shark Typhoon's okay. We're still going to lose Narset, unfortunately, but we get to kill the Murderous Rider, I guess. Yeah, I guess let's do this for 6. Opponent could easily have a removal spell, but at least we get a little bit of value. So here's hoping our opponent didn't find a Chandra or... Sweet. Got a Gonti in the graveyard. Aetherborn. Yeah, hopefully they didn't get a Narset or Chandra. It looks like they didn't, otherwise I'd assume they would have cast that instead of the Null Priest. Okay, so Anger the Gods, Sweltering Suns.
Mind and body should move and meditate and prepare.
Chandra would be good, but I wonder if we just want to cycle make a 4/4. Can't really defend Chandra at the moment. I think we're just attacking our opponent, trying to close the game here. So our opponent's going to gain, this is lifelink. They're going to gain 4 life back, take 6. So they're going to fall to 7, gain 4, go back to 11. We're going to cycle and make a 4/4 and have 10 power in play. So they're going to be 1 off. So if we draw an Electrolyze Prismari command, then we could have Lethal on them. This is providing our opponent doesn't have a removal spell. But yeah, it looks like our opponent's just like a mono black mid-range list. So our opponent knows about the card in our hand. We're not blocking the Death Toucher, and we can't block the Null Priest of Oblivion because it has Menace. So I'll just take this.
Interesting technique.
So you've got to imagine an opponent's got a removal spell here, but hopefully not. I think we're going to castle and upkeep. Chandra is 2 damage. Let's see. So there's no sensor in our list that we need to play around. Let's just go. If Chandra resolves, then I think it's game. Opponent had the saw it coming. Sweet. Okay, they're drawing for turn, but they do need to answer what we've got. They can't activate their castle. I think we're gonna upkeep, activate our castle again. They need to take out the 6/6 at the least. Okay, now they need to take out both sharks. Wow, Izzet Control getting there. 2-0 so far. Pretty good. Okay, so without considering the whole hand, just the fact we have 4 lands alone makes me want to keep this hand. So probably going to keep it. We can cycle the Shark Typhoon early, and we've got the Narset Prismari command combo. Okay, looks like we're against Phoenix. Opponent's already found one of their Phoenixes. We're not running any cages in the main, so we're going to have to rely on them game 2. And we don't really have any way to answer these Phoenixes, so... When we built Izzet, we knew Phoenix would be an issue. Especially game 1. Sweet, yep. I think we're just going to... So I can't really play Narset into the Stormwing. I mean, we can play Narset into it. Our opponent's going to be able to answer it, but it might be able to hold off the Arclight Phoenix for a turn. Because our opponent doesn't want to cast... I guess they could... Yeah, they'd have to go to combat to finish Narset. So if I plan to cast Narset next turn, I'm probably just going to draw. I don't have high hopes for Narset surviving, but... at least it can be a bit of a pain in the ass for our opponent to handle. And we're not going to tick down. This is one of the matchups, I think, where you just very rarely tick down your Narset. I mean, opponent might be able to cast another instant or sorcery that doesn't draw them a card to answer Narset, but maybe it's a bit more of a headache for them. Just go have another Narset, maybe. I mean, it looked like our opponent was able to do that pretty easy, but there's a good chance that they can't do that again. We could also plan on just cycling and making a 2-2. I guess that still dies to a shock. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go Narset again. There's a good chance our opponent can answer the Narset, but on the off chance they can't, then I think we're in a really good position. Opponent's plan might be to shock here as well. No, Crackling Drake. So it's just a 4-4, no draw. And we don't need more lands at this point, so we will definitely Fable Passage now. I think if we can take game 1 against Arclight Phoenix, then we're in a good position. I don't have high hopes, though, because we can't answer this Crackling Drake with anything really consistently in the list. So I guess the plan is Prismari Command in upkeep, make our opponent draw and give us a treasure, and then we can Shark Typhoon to cycle to block either the Crackling Drake or the Entity if our opponent doesn't send both at Narset. If they send both at Narset, then I guess we get to hold up Saw It Coming. And I guess we do this now, before our opponent gets the extra information. And in my experience, normally with the Arclight Phoenix list, they don't run too many counterspells. If they can kill Narset in response, then it doesn't work out too well for us. And also, Prismari Command Narset little combo that we're doing now doesn't work too well against what our opponent's up to all the time, just because they might want to discard their Phoenixes. Okay, they're going to send both at Narset, it makes sense. We're obviously just going to let this go.
I still have much to learn.
You cycle and make a 1-1 here? Maybe not. We'd like to block this Crackling Drake, I think. So hopefully them Narsets caused enough of a headache for our opponent that they have been thrown off the Arclight Phoenix plan for a little bit. Well, that's the plan. Okay, maybe not. I think Finale is one of them cards you really can't let your opponent resolve, if at all possible. And I think I'm happy to just make a 1-1 here and throw it in the way of the Crackling Drake. If our opponent has a shock, they have a shock. So be it. Okay, Electrolyze. Not too great in this situation. I guess, like, Brazen Borrower, we could bounce the Entity and then block the Crackling Drake and then Electrolyze. Yeah, I think I don't mind that, actually. It's quite likely our opponent can get back an Arclight Phoenix here. Yep, we're going to wait for our opponent to do all of the shenanigans first and then bounce the Stormwing. So our opponent's getting back a Phoenix. Just thinking of different options. I think we have to take the hit from the Phoenix. Let's bounce the entity since it represents the most amount of damage. Flash in Brazen Borrower. Block here. And then we'll finish off the Crackling Drake with Electrolyze, and then hopefully the Shark Typhoon is enough to block the Arclight Phoenix on the next turn. Opponent also can't cast their entity because they've already laid land for turn, I assume, or they don't have a blue land in hand. Okay, so not loving our position, but also we're not completely out of it. We get to make a massive shark here, and unless our opponent's running Brazen Borrowers, there's not many ways that they're able to answer this. So let's make a 6/6. So I guess the plan is Brazen Borrower, bounce the Crackling Drake, and then counter the Crackling Drake on the way back down, and then try and kill them with Brazen Borrower. Because I don't have high hopes at the moment that we're going to be able to win the late game. And then hopefully between the 2 hits next turn, we'll be able to finish our opponent off. Yeah, I mean, can't really stop this. Opponent put another Phoenix into the graveyard. Yep, there's not much we can do here. Our opponent could always cast a Faithless Looting out of the graveyard. So they're getting back both of their Phoenixes. They put Stormwing into the graveyard. So there's flashback of Faithless Looting here. Yeah, we'll counter that. I would like to keep our Shark. Okay, so opponent's put out a blocker. So maybe our opponent attacks with 1 Phoenix and keeps 1 back. Okay, they attack with none. Yeah, I think I agree with them. Like, there's a good chance that they win the late game here. I mean, we can commit to memory the Crackling Drake when they try and cast it, and then I guess in our turn shuffle everything back in. I don't even know if that's any good. I guess if we're doing that plan, then it's probably better to attack with a Shark here, because we'd rather have the opponent's Phoenixes in the graveyard so they get shuffled back in. No reason to attack the Brazen Borrower, I don't think. But if our opponent wants to trade both Phoenixes here, maybe this is good for us. So if we stop Brainstorm, our opponent's still going to be able to cast 2 Faithless Lootings out of the graveyard. Get back both Phoenixes. I guess our opponent getting back their Phoenixes isn't the end of the world, because there's a good chance we could draw Sweltering Suns off of the memory and we could still cast it, so we could mop up the whole board. But then our opponent would have a card of seven cards in hand with a Phoenix, with 2 Phoenixes in the graveyard. I don't know. I don't love our situation. I think we just got to really hope our opponent chooses to not go for the Phoenix plan. Looks like they're going to. Yep, not much we can do about that. I think we going to be taking 6 here, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Man. Can stop Shock, I guess, and chump the entity, but it's probably, if we're going down that plan, it's probably better to just put the entity back in our opponent's deck. And just take 6, but then we're still dead on the next turn. If we put one of the Arclight Phoenixes and take 9, then we're dead to a Shock. So I think we've got to put Stormwing entity back in. Can't really afford to foretell the Saw It coming first, so we can have the extra card. I have a good, really, really strong feeling that we are just dead. But you can hope, I guess. So I guess the plan is, like, we wipe these away, our opponent can definitely get back all their cards. I guess the plan is make a 2/2. We really needed an Narset in play before we did the memory, I think. We know our opponent has Brazen Borrower, we know they have Shocks, so there's a extremely high probability that we are just dead here. Yep. Didn't have high hopes for that. We really needed an Narset or something in play before we took that angle. Right, so we're going to hope that our cages are enough and Anger of the Gods is enough to bring it home. I don't think this is a matchup where we want Mystical Disputes and Negates, because a lot of our opponent's cards are cantrips. Electrolyze still answers some of what our opponent's got going on. Brazen Borrower, Arclight Phoenix, it still kills them. That being said, I don't know what else we're cutting. Maybe like a Commit Memory. Maybe like Trim and Electrolyze. Maybe like Sweltering Suns and just go down another Electrolyze because we're bringing in the Anger of the Gods. And Anger's pretty good in this matchup. Could bring in Bone Crusher Giant as a way to pressure our opponent a bit more, but I don't know what we'd cut for it. So we are on the play against Arclight Phoenix, and I think this is a hand we probably have to mulligan. We don't have Cage in it, and we're missing one of our colours. If we draw 1 land, then this hand is okay, because we have Search for Escanter, but if we don't draw a land, then we're a bit screwed, so I think we're going to mulligan. Guess we'll keep this, but going back to, it's getting a little bit screwed by our mana. We are in 2 colours, 26 lands, so we should find a reasonable amount of them. I obviously don't have high hopes that we're going to win this game. Mulligan to 5 without one of our cages in our hand feels rough. I think we have to draw really well to get out of this. Gotta stop drawing lands already. A few more lands and it's probably going to be over. Opponent's already found one of their Phoenixes, so yeah, Cage would be really good. Yep. I think I'm just going to Psycho Shark Typhoon for 1, maybe. Could save it till next turn. And then we get to make a 2/2 and we can kill one of these Phoenixes that our opponent gets. Probably just want to find something to do. It's not really a game-winning plan to do that. Okay, sweet. So at least our opponent's not getting back their Faithless Looting. or their Phoenixes anymore. Just take the free. Maybe opponent's planning on end step abrading. Or if they've got Prismari Command, maybe. Yeah, Searcher's Canter's gonna... If the game goes super long, then it's gonna do some good work. I think we'll block the entity this turn. Okay, so opponent 4 mana did nothing. When we take the hit one more turn, I guess we'd have to take it for another turn as well. Just thinking that if we draw a Narset or Chandra, then we'll want to be able to block. I can only assume that our opponent's hoping we tap down at some point. What's the odds our opponent has an Abrade? I think we really need this Searcher's Canter. We have nothing going on otherwise. Only time will tell if this is a big mistake. Looks like it was a mistake. Yep. Okay, so I only have Brazen Borrower. I guess it's all they need really to... Oh. Yeah, opponent made a mistake there. Did it in our main phase 2 rather than our end step. So I guess at least we get to hold our opponent off of cage for one more turn. I am just a bit worried of this entity killing us as well. Sweltering Suns doesn't do much because I guess we can Sweltering Suns plus shoot the entity. It doesn't really feel like a game-winning plan, but... I guess we'll library it. If our opponent's plan is to cast an instant or sorcery, then we can finish it off with the Prismari command. If our opponent's plan to let it go off and then cast the Brazen Borrower, then we can still finish it off with command. Guess we'll create a treasure token, so we'll ping here and then we'll create a treasure. So opponent need double instant or sorcery here to stop that. Yeah, I don't know if it's correct to keep Sweltering Suns there, but I really don't want to die to the entity. You got to believe that if our opponent's got an answer to cage in their 60 right now, then they're going to find it. Okay, just hard cast Phoenix. So many things on the list answer this Phoenix, so hopefully we can find one of them. That's not one of them. Guess that's one of them. So we'll just do it for 4. Can do it for 5. I don't know if it matters too much. I think 4 is fine. If our opponent has a Brazen Borrower, that's fine. The only reason we'd want to do it for 5, I guess, is if we believe our opponent has double shock. And if our opponent can't answer cage, then this Phoenix is gone for good. Okay, so opponent wants to use the shock and the Phoenix to finish off the shark. I guess they're trying to protect their Narset. So we get to flip Searcher's Canter here. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. We're not going to flip Searcher's Canter just because I think it's pretty essential that we resolve this Chandra. It's one of the few things on our list that can deal 4 damage to take out an entity. And I guess we'll represent a counter spell. It'd be unfortunate if our opponent gets to just Phoenix here, finish off Chandra. God, can you imagine if we had our own Narset at the moment with all of these brainstorms? Our opponent would just be switched off. We gone past the Narset? No, not yet. Remember, we're on the mulligan to 5 as well, so if we win this game, there's a chance we could win the next game.
Whatever. Figure it out on your own.
It looks like our opponent is struggling. I think I'm going to activate this now. I think rather have Electrolyze. Can't play around Mystical Dispute, unfortunately. I guess... So we won't be able to draw the extra card, will we? In which case we should have taken Sweltering Suns. Because we get to play around Mystical Dispute. Because we're not going to get to draw the extra card now. Unfortunately. But if we wait for our opponent's turn, we know they have Negate. We've seen Negate. They've gone past 1 Negate already. I think we just don't draw the extra card and just go now. But had I thought about my decision a little bit more, we should have definitely taken the Sweltering Suns instead. Chandra's good.
I knew you needed. This will be easy.
It's a shame that Chandra can no longer redirect damage. I don't think it's worth falling to 6. Opponent again decided to do that in our second main phase. Maybe they have an Abrade or Prismari Command, they just cannot find it. Okay, so let's use Azcanta. Don't think we need another cage at this point. Our opponent, they can either answer this cage or they can't. Okay. So we can bounce something, flash in the borrower, and still hold up a counter spell. If we add mana to Chandra, we would still have... So 2, 3, 4. That's Azcanta. 2, 1, 2, 3. I guess we'd have to shock in to be able to activate Azcanta, flash out Brazen Borrower, also bounce, as well as hold up Counterspell. I guess maybe let's just... Don't know the correct thing here. Maybe we just tick up. Let's have a look what we get. Okay, makes our decision a little bit easier. So we know our opponent has Negate, but we have a counterspell to try and stop that. Probably going to bounce this Stormwing entity back. Wait for our opponent to go through the whole shebang first. Guess let this go. Opponent doesn't know about the Brazen Borrower, they know about the counterspell though. So hopefully we just get to bounce Storming Entity. Looks like our opponent hasn't got anything. Flash this in and still get to hold up a counterspell. Block. We could take the hit and then kill their Narset in on the way back, but I don't think it's worth it. And then we get to stop this. And with any luck, that'll be it that our opponent's got. Nope.
Focused and disciplined. Keep an open mind.
Okay, Spell Pierce not that relevant now. Nice to know that our opponent does have Spell Pierce. We'll cast a free cage, just make it more difficult for our opponent to do anything. Yeah, we'll take our own Narset. Our opponent's already sort of gone through all of the motions, but I guess it's fine. And we'll tick down. We haven't seen lightning strikes. I guess memory lapse is okay. Okay, that can shoot one of our planeswalkers or hit us for 2. Opponent has 1 unknown card. They can't use their Faithless Looting. We can't really use memory lapse at the moment to protect Narset. Guess we'll cast a 3-1. And opponent's going to scoop it up, so managed to get there with Cage. It looks like our opponent couldn't find an answer to it in their 60. Maybe they're going to bring in some after boarding. But yeah, it looks like a pretty standard list. Got to be worried about Brazen Borrowers, but outside that, I think we managed to scrape by. Let's not lie there. So hopefully we can scrape by and do it again. Okay, so game 3 against Arclight Phoenix, and we managed to scrape by a win in the last game. Grafdigger's Cage coming up at the right moment, and our opponent not being able to find an answer to it. This time it looks like we're going to keep a solid 7, and hopefully this is going to be enough. Our opponent did show a Spell Pierce. Looks like they're not going to hold that up. Maybe our opponent has an Abrade straight off the bat. Don't see any reason to tap down at the moment for Searcher's Canter. Could get really greedy and tap down, and hopefully it works out. I think we'll find some memory lapse this maybe. Strange that our opponent wants to put this back in our hand now. Maybe it's because they're untapping and having like a Spell Pierce or something. We're going to use... yeah, we'll use this opportunity to resolve a Searcher's Canter, I guess. Not much else we could do. We could foretell, saw it coming, but... yeah, I'm going to keep a second Cage just because it's so important in this matchup. If our opponent can find an answer to it, Brazen Borrower, then I'd really like to be able to have a second one. Okay, opponent's doing it now. This is why we kept the second Cage. Okay, opponent's tapping down though, not even going to leave out the negate. Not worried at all. Opponent is not worried at all. Okay, throwing them out like Phoenixes away. I guess they're getting one back now. Yeah, we'll library this. Yeah, and I guess we'll just do this now. And then we'll just foretell, saw it coming. And then next turn we can always Sweltering Suns past our opponent's negate. And yeah, we can Sweltering Suns if our opponent negates, we got saw it coming. And then what's that? 2, 4, 5 with Fable Passage, 6 if we throw the card for turn with Searcher's Canter into the graveyard. So not quite enough to transform. Anger's a good one as well. Opponent could have Spell Pierce and negate, but I guess the upside is we have an Anger to back it up with. I'm just going to let this go. Shopping. I feel pretty confident with double Cage. This Brazen Borrower dies to a lot of what we've got. But I don't know if we want to... yeah, I'm going to stop it. My fear is that our opponent goes Crackling Drake next turn. But by using the Saw It Coming now, because our opponent could flash in the Brazen Borrower and then I guess just do nothing. The only foretell card they've seen so far is Saw It Coming, so they would know that not to play a Crackling Drake straight into that. So then we'd be left in a pretty sad opportunity where, or situation where we wouldn't be able to transform our Search for Scanter. Yeah, Crackling Drake here is painful. Entity not as bad, but still pretty bad. We know our opponent's got a negate. I think we have to take a hit for one turn. We need something else in combination with Anger. Well, I guess Chandra would be quite good. But if we could find another counterspell. A Narset would be great as well. Narset's good. Yeah, because we can't really resolve Anger. Because even if our opponent decides to negate the Narset here, you get the Prowess trigger. We can pay for Spell Pierce. Not Mystical Dispute. I don't know if our opponent's running Mystical Dispute and Spell Pierce. I think just gonna allow this Narset to sit here. I think our opponent's gonna need like Shock to really cleanly answer this Narset. They got it, it's fine.
This was overwhelming.
Let's activate now. So opponent could so easily have an instant or sorcery here. Yeah. I don't know, are we just cycling Shark Typhoon here for 2? If our opponent has a shock, they have a shock. And just chump blocking for a turn? Or do we want to save it? I think the answer is we want to save it. Because outside of a Brazen Borrow, it won't be easy for our opponent to answer. Yeah, don't love our chances here. Yeah, I mean, Chandra can answer Crackling Drake, but we know our opponent has a negate in hand. Because we memory lapsed it to the top. They've just done a lot of their hand, so it's hidden. And if our opponent negates it, then we're cycling Shark Typhoon for 2. And if we cycle Shark Typhoon for 2 and our opponent has a shock, it's over. Equally, if we just pass the turn and just cycle Shark Typhoon for 4, then if our opponent has Brazen Borrow, it's over. So what's it more likely that our opponent has, a Brazen Borrower or a shock? They're probably running 4 shocks, but they're not necessarily running 4 Brazen Borrowers. So maybe the best thing to do is just pass turn, cycle Shark Typhoon. Yeah. It's not gonna, I don't think it's gonna be good either way. I think this is the difference between Jeskai and Izzet. Izzet really struggles to answer these big creatures. We normally have like 3 damage burn spells, 2 damage burn spells. So we'll cycle this. I guess we only do it for 4. Doesn't play around double shock. So we'll feel sad. But if we draw like a memory lapse off of this, then could stop a Brazen Borrower. Opponents missequenced some of their plays so far. Okay, we didn't draw anything. Okay, so it worked out. Oh, we just dead here. Good chance. If opponent has another instant of sorcery and a shock, we're dead. So again, know about the negate. There's just really not much we can do here. Yeah. I don't really know what the option is. Maybe activate as Canter, try and hope to hit a Shark Typhoon. So opponent didn't have Brazen Borrow then. Maybe we activate as Canter now, because if we find like a Memory Lapse, I guess we can't cast Memory Lapse as well. I guess activate as Canter now, and then we could always Anger of the Gods. But then, yeah, I think we just pass the turn. Opponent just goes to combat here and attacks, though, I assume. Okay, that makes our life almost impossible to deal with, so let's activate as Canter. Did hit Shark Typhoon, step 1. I guess we cycle Shark Typhoon for 1 and try and hit a Memory Lapse, and hope that opponent just got rid of their negate at some point, and they don't have a shock. Swirling Suns. Yeah. Maybe throw your comments down below how you think we may have been able to handle this, potential outs we had knowing the list. But I don't know. I think we just struggled to answer Crackling Drakes and Entities being 4 toughness. Okay, so going into game 4, our opponents decided to keep a full hand of 7, and I think we're going to keep our 7 as well. Little bit risky with lands, we need to find a third land, but Sweltering Suns against Lurrus of the Dream Den feels okay. Obviously it depends what variant our opponent's on, it looks like the Pyromancer list maybe. So our opponent discards first. Taking a second, so I assume it's a pretty tough choice. Ooh. Oh, I guess it's like Jund. I don't know how I feel with Izzet compared to Jeskai playing it. I feel like Jeskai is probably just better. It's worth playing the third colour. I think Lightning Helix is really good, and you need something like Wrath of God, because as we saw in the Arclight Phoenix matchup, it's really difficult to answer things with a higher than 3 toughness. Even a 3 toughness creature, only our Sweltering Suns answers it. We have 2 Chandras to answer 4 toughness. Okay, looks like a slightly different list to what I was expecting. Interesting. Looks like we're going to miss our land drop. I will cycle this Shark Typhoon for 0, just to try and make sure we hit our lands, because I would like to Sweltering Suns. Yeah, I think gotta let this go. A little bit worried about what opponent's up to, because they're... Oh, like Domri's Ambush and Witherbloom Command. Yeah, I'm just going to cycle for 0 here. No, yes deck, thank you. So, what's the plan? Let our opponent mill a little bit more and Sweltering Suns just to protect our life total. We don't have any exile removal anyway, so the opponent's going to get to mill with the Stitcher Supplier. Opponents utilising their graveyard with Dreadhorde Arcanist. No Croxer so far. Okay, Claim, Fame. Opponent's gonna get to like Fort Caesar or something. I guess Faithless Looting, Witherbloom Command. Okay, Command. Don't know what they're planning on doing with Command. Okay, they're going to mill and drain us for 2. Okay, interesting list what our opponent's on. I haven't seen this sort of variant before. Sweet. At least we still get to keep one of our Sweltering Suns. It is pretty difficult when your opponent hasn't got any lands in hand and they've got a six card hand. Normally quite tough to decide what you're taking. Yeah, Chandra seems like it could be a good shout there. I think we are just going to wipe this away. Makes me miss being in Jeskai, being able to Lightning Helix the Arcanist. I think where we normally play quite a lot of Azorius on the channel, I think it might be Jeskai this season more so. Been playing quite a lot of that. It's one of the reasons we got to Mythic. Just casually in my spare time playing some Jeskai, and it's been super fun playing around with different variants of the list. Okay, I was really hoping to draw land there. I think we need to hold up a counterspell here to stop this Croxer. If our opponent resolves this, say we went Narset there, and our opponent resolves Croxer, and we don't draw a land to commit the Croxer, then we are in big trouble. So yeah, gotta memory lapse this Croxer, waste our opponent's turn, and then if our opponent doesn't have land drop 2 lands in hand now, then they won't be able to draw a Croxer, play it, and then cast it again, because they won't be drawing a land for turn. Yeah, gotta let this first Croxer go. I still think commit's gonna have some value. And I'm more than happy to just ping our opponent for 2 here and draw a card. I mean, Electrolyze is a good answer to Lurrus as well. So is Sweltering Suns, but we'd have to wait a turn. I think we're just going to draw a card here. I think it's important that we hit our lands. Or not lands. Deck's not making it easy. Yeah, so if our opponent goes Lurrus into like... Yeah, I think we're just going to pass the turn. Gotta stick with the same plan, I think. Opponent's got a lot of cards in graveyard for this Croxer. It's one of the main reasons we're playing Brazen Borrower. Doesn't work too well with Searchless Canter and Narset, but we have no ways to answer big creatures like Croxer. So yeah, gonna memory lapse this. Could end step just bounce it with the Borrower, but I don't really want to go to discard. No, deck, please. Okay. I feel like just playing Searchless Canter. It will flip on the next turn. And then if our opponent can do what they want this turn, and then hopefully we find a land off the top, we go to 5 lands, we can Sweltering Suns plus bounce this Croxer if our opponent decides to cast it from graveyard. 2 Shark Typhoons, yep. Looks like they're just going to escape a Croxer, which works out okay for us. We get to bounce it with Brazen Borrower. What are we discarding? Maybe... maybe Sweltering Suns? Gone past 2. I don't really want to discard Sweltering Suns. Narset feels rough. I think we need to keep Narset. Maybe it's Commit Memory, but then we don't have any counterspell. Tough choices. Maybe it is Sweltering Suns. Yes, deck. Give us a land.
I train every day. More prepared than me.
So is our opponent running damage-based removal? Domri's Ambush is a thing. I think we need the card advantage at this point. Take a second Narset. Good chance our opponent will be able to answer the first one. And we shall wait on the Brazen Borrower. In case our opponent has like a Domri's Ambush. They want to shoot our Narset and then... Oh, what do you know? Yeah, in case they want to shoot our Narset and then attack us for a hefty 7. And our opponent knows we haven't got lands in hand because we've been stuck on 3 lands for most of the game. So yeah, maybe we just see an escape to Lurrus here. And then, or play Lurrus and then they'll play Croxer out their graveyard. Oh wait, they just play Burning Tree Emissary, don't they? And then, like Crocs off of that maybe? I mean, I will discard the Commit Memory in the hopes that we will draw land. Okay, maybe not.
I shall miss your company.
That's not a bad one. And I think we're forced to discard the Narset here. How many Narsets we've been through? It'll be the second. So we have one more on the list. Because Commit Memory is one of our few ways, along with Brazen Borrower, to be able to answer these big creatures like Croxer. Well, actually, I guess we're just losing both here. Yeah, tough. This is a matchup, I think, where we very much rely on Cage to do some work. If opponent just casts Crocs out the graveyard, which I think is probably like a really good move, we lose our Commit to Memory. Even if we draw land, we don't really want to use Commit, because then we're just kind of dead to what our opponent's got. Yeah, it's not gonna lie, feeling rough here. Can't activate as Cantor and get a Brazen Borrower. So yeah, we're taking 9 here. And I guess the plan is just activate as Cantor. I think we have to take 9 in the hopes of hitting something we can do off of Ascanter along with our draw for turn. Narset's a little bit late. I guess Shark Typhoon can block. So even with Shark Typhoon, it's only equals... Can only do Shark Typhoon for 5, not 6. So we'll Shark Typhoon for 1, hoping our opponent doesn't have any damage-based removal. We haven't seen shocks in that so far. And then this also allows us to activate Search as Cantor, so we can either... Yeah, this is going to miss. So we can either soak up 3 damage from Croxer, which I think we're... I don't know. I don't think we need to soak up the damage. I think we have to find 2 relevant spells here. So we'll take the 3 damage of Croxer, chump block him, activate as Cantor, and then hopefully if I draw for turn we get something we can do. Well, we are very close to just being dead. If our opponent, I guess if our opponent Croxers, we can activate as Cantor in response. None of these do it, unfortunately. I guess if we draw for turn a Brazen Borrower, then Saw It Coming is going to be what we want. I mean, yeah, that was a goodie. That was definitely a goodie. So we will commit the Croxer, and then we get to Saw It Coming our opponent's next play. I mean, there was like 1 or 2 draws in our entire deck that got us out of that situation. I mean, may as well let our opponent take it. There's like no point in countering here. If our opponent's last card in hand is Croxer, feel very sad. No. Yeah, GG. Good game. Opponent mills the Croxer, feels their graveyard enough. Yeah, there's a few cards in our deck that got us out of that, and we actually drew one of them. It just so happened our opponent had a counter to what we were up to. So, yes, let's decide what we're sideboarding. We're definitely bringing in Anger of the Gods and whatnot. Commit to Memory like doesn't... it was okay, but don't really want to be casting Memory without a Narset in play. This card might just strictly be better when you're playing Torrential Gearhulk. I don't know how good this is. One of the main reasons we're running it is, like I said, we've got the Narset Memory combo, as well as Izzet really struggles to answer big creatures, and Commit along with Brazen Borrower is a way to do that. I don't think we want to bring in too much else. Maybe we're just making some cuts now. Maybe we cut like a Sweltering Suns. Electrolyze actually has some targets that might be quite good. It can hit Burning Tree Emissary, can hit Lurrus, can hit... what else can it hit? Stitcher Supplier. Can't hit Arcanist. Can't hit Croxer. So it's okay. Maybe we like Trim. And, I mean, Shark Typhoon's actually a really effective way to close the game. Maybe just cut Command. Okay, so we are on the play against Lurrus of the Dream Den, going into Game 2. Unfortunately, we lost Game 1. And this is one of them rare hands where we have Cage in our opening hand and a means to play it. So that alone, I think we're going to keep. Normally when we're playing Azorius or Jeskai and we have Cage, we're normally got a tap land turn 1, so we cannot play the Cage, but Four.Vs isn't going to be good enough here. And yeah, pretty happy our opponent got 3 lands as well. I guess we need to hold up Memory Lapse. If our opponent has like an Abrade, we don't want to lose our Cage unnecessarily. Yep, I mean, let's let our opponent draw a few. Opponent being a Jund, there's a ton of different answers they could have. Assassin's Trophy doesn't see much play anymore, but they could have that. Putrefy. Yeah, it's like a complete wealth of different things. Yep, we have Wilt. It's a pretty good one. So I guess, is this instant speed? Yep. So we can't really tap down now. Yeah, probably not good enough. So I assume my opponent just plays land, pass turn with Wilt up, and then in our end step they're going to try and Wilt us. We're going to memory them. I guess they're going to untap, then just cast it again. So yeah, there's not much we can do here. We might just, I guess we can't end step Electrolyze. Maybe it was better to lay an untapped land there so we could end step Electrolyze. Yeah, opponent... Oh, opponent chose not to Wilt. Okay, well, I mean, kind of just as good. Let them have a look. They're definitely going to take the Memory Lapse, I think. Then they get to destroy our Grafdigger's Cage. We have 2 more in the list, so... Our opponent's not completely in the clear just because they found an answer to one of them. We also have... We kept in 1 memory, I think, so we have a way to shuffle them all back in if needs be. And we're not going to take 2 damage unnecessarily. We will ping both of these. Opponent can mill for 6. They have Maelstrom Pulse as well. And what do you know? Second cage. At least our opponent won't be able to use Faithless Looting this turn. Yep. Probably going to be forced to Sweltering Suns this. Or maybe we'll just Shark Typhoon actually. I think we'll do it now. Maelstrom Pulse is sorcery, just need to double check. And then hopefully this 4/4 Shark's going to close the game pretty quick. So opponent will need to push it or find an answer to it. But they've also got to answer our cage. Also being 4 toughness obviously gets around our Sweltering Suns. So we can still wipe the board. Okay, looks like our opponent can't find an answer to our cage. So we actually might be in a really good position here. And I think I will just activate Narset here as well.
If you wish to surrender now, I understand.
Okay, it's taking a while to go on the stack, but I assume it's because our opponent was conceding. So yeah, that worked out a lot better. But our opponent actually had one answer to... They actually had an answer to our cage, but fortunately we drew a second one. But I think we're just going to run it back and try it again. This again is a matchup that if you draw your cage, you're in a good position. If you don't, you're not. Okay, so no Grafdigger's Cage in our opening hand, but I think this is probably good enough we can keep. Yay. So maybe we're going to rely on these Shark Typhoons to close the game for us. I'd like to not cycle them for 0 or 1. But I think we have to cycle 1 next turn. I guess actually we have to bounce that probably. Don't really want to give our opponent a free Four.Vs. Making our opponent spend their turn again feels okay. Could cycle Shark Typhoon for 0. Just trying to hit our land drops, but I really don't want to if we don't have to. Ah, looks like our opponent is also struggling on mana. We've got nothing we can do, so I'm just going to cycle for 0 now and hope to hit lands. Yay. Okay, so hopefully we draw land for turn, and then we get to go Shark Typhoon for 2, Shark Typhoon for 3. Providing our opponent doesn't want to take it at Four.Vs. But the way our opponent's been playing so far, I assume they're taking Torch of Defiance here. They're going to take Anger of the Gods. Maybe they've got Stitcher's Suppliers that they would like to resolve. Or they just want to protect their Arcanist, maybe. If we draw land, we will just play Chandra, shoot this Arcanist. And then well, I guess our opponent has Maelstrom Pulse. Oh, sweet. Opponent is stuck on lands. Opponent put into the graveyard. Faithless Looting, I guess, that they could cast off the Arcanist. So there is an option to tick up Chandra and then cast the Shark Typhoon, but our opponent has Maelstrom Pulse and Wilt, so I don't think a hard cast Shark Typhoon is going to be particularly good. The plan probably is to see what we draw for turn first. And our opponent drew land. Opponent's getting very close to being able to cast a Croxer, so maybe we do have to just hold up, saw it coming. Well, our opponent's going to take that away from us now. And then if they draw land... Well, I guess actually they've got a green source, so they can't necessarily... So it could tick up Chandra, add mana, and then just cycle a Shark Typhoon. Could cycle Shark Typhoon for 4. It protects our Chandra. Could cycle Shark Typhoon for just 2, and then we get to hold up Memory Lapse as well. I think I'd rather start adding pressure to our opponent. This way we could also hit a land drop as well. And I like holding up some form of protection. Fortunately, no land. But a few tick-ups of Chandra and a few hits of our Sharks, in combination with maybe an Electrolyze or 2, is going to close the game. I think got to let our opponent have this one. Maybe because they're stuck on lands, it's a good shout to stop this. So they need another land because Pathway on green is not good to cast a Croxer. Okay, opponent wants some more cards in their graveyard. I think we have to bite the bullet here. Okay. I think our opponent's struggling on lands. I'm really happy to let them draw this Abrade again next turn, and then they're not going to be able to cast their Croxer. Or actually, they're going to mill the Abrade, I guess. Maybe we should have actually let Chandra hit for 1. Okay, we drew another one. I think we're going to repeat again. Hopefully we find a land. Nope. Memory Lapse is excellent. I think the correct play actually there was to let Chandra take the 1 off of the Stitcher Supplier so we knew what our opponent was drawing on the next turn. So they definitely weren't drawing a red or black source. Because now if they draw a red or black source... I mean, yeah, we can do the same thing again. Just put this on top, maybe. Or maybe it's best. Our opponent's taking 4 this turn. Wait, our opponent's taking 4. Chandra tick up and then Electrolyze. That's just lethal. Yeah. Yeah, I think, yeah, it's just lethal with Electrolyze and that. I think these sacrifice lists, they do a lot of... They do us a big favour by shocking themselves and bringing themselves quite low, so we normally can finish them off with our burn. Howdy guys, cheers for making it to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching some Izzet Control. So Izzet Control is not something we play quite often on the channel, because I feel like it lacks a lot of the tools that's essential to control. And when I say that, one of the main things is 2-for-1 card advantage. In this list, we really struggle, and we mentioned this a lot through the games, that we struggle to answer bigger creatures and get our 2-for-1 value. We've got things like Electrolyze that's quite good at it, Shark Typhoon's okay, Chandra can come down, shoot a creature, maybe tick up and get some card advantage. But Chandra in combination with our counter spells doesn't work too well. Though actually, it's worth pointing out, I think throughout all of the games, we activate Chandra a few times, and we never once hit a counter spell off of her, so that's just pot luck. We're running 8 in the main. We should be hitting them a little bit. So that being said, we do struggle to answer them bigger creatures, and it's one of the reasons we're running Brazen Burrow at Commit to Memory as well. Commit to Memory is not great. It's really good when you can pair it in combination with Narset, and normally you need a Torrential Gearhulk at instant speed to make that work. We're not running Torrential Gearhulks because we're trying to keep our creature count down to an absolute minimum because we are using Searchlight Cancer and Narset. I've decided to use the Searchlight Cancer and Narset combo just because I don't really know what else Izzet has to offer. I know Prismari Command is really good in combination with Narset, making your opponent draw 2 and then they have to discard 2. Obviously, they can't draw with Narset out, so I thought it'd be better to lean on that and maybe try and do something interesting with Izzet for a change, since I don't really know what else you can do with Izzet that's exciting and different and gives it the edge. Like, for example, why would you play Izzet above Azorius? Why would you play it above Jeskai? Maybe it's the colour combination you just like, red-blue instead. Not too sure, but I wasn't really sure what to do with it, so this is what I decided. Sweltering Suns was pretty good. Not as good as Wrath of God. It'd be really difficult to argue that Sweltering Suns is better than just a plain out destroy all creatures. But having the flexibility to cycle itself at points where it's irrelevant, maybe you're against a Yorion matchup, maybe against Sultai Ultimatum where you just don't need Sweltering Suns, you can fill the graveyard for Searchless Canter and potentially turn into a relevant card. As always, we've struggled with our lands. Maybe we need to be running more lands. I've been running 26 lands on a lot of our control lists recently. And the reason for that is, I feel like Historic is turning into a format where our curve has dropped a lot lower. If you just look at this curve right now, so we have basically everything is a free drop. Shark Typhoon, a lot of the time, can either be a 2-drop or more. So we're often casting Shark Typhoon for X equals 1 or 2, so 3 or 4 mana. So it's actually really low on the curve. And Commit to Memory, a lot of the time, is 4 mana. So essentially our curve actually goes like that. So 26 lands, I don't think it's unreasonable to be running in this list. Maybe it's just variance and we're getting a little bit screwed. Overall, I felt we had some consistency with the mana, though. We never really struggled to hit our colours that often. I think there were a few games where we had double mounting our opening hand, but apart from that, it did okay. Overall, the list, it was okay. I think you're probably just better off playing Jeskai or Azorius if you're looking for a super competitive list. And obviously we did hit Mythic with this, but I did get all the way to Mythic with Jeskai and Azorius, so I don't know how much that's saying. But if you want my opinion on the matter, I'd probably be running Jeskai or Azorius instead. I feel like they've just got better tools available. And in my personal preference, I'd be running Jeskai because I think it's a super exciting list at the moment and it's got a lot to offer. It'd be really exciting to find Chandra Torch Defiance in the Jeskai list, but probably just isn't enough room. It's probably as consistent as it can be. And if you're interested in Jeskai, worth noting, Jeskai is going to be the next video coming up on the channel because I've been really excited playing it. I've been loving it, playing different variants. And I think I've got one down that I'm actually really happy with and hopefully he's going to do really well for us in Mythic. But that's pretty much what I thought of Izzet. Our sideboard was okay. You got the Graph Digger's Cages in there. I don't know if you want to be playing Bone Crusher Giants. They're mainly in there because we haven't really got a reliable way to gain life. Or scratch that, we've actually got no way to gain life in the list, really. So Bone Crusher Giants are there against like Gruul or Mono Red, sort of ways to get a bit of 2-for-1 value and put up a pretty sturdy blocker and a way of closing the game. Anger of the Gods, obviously, alongside Graph Digger's Cage for their matchups like Arclight Phoenix and Jund Sacrifice and that. But we're always going to struggle against them lists because we don't have things like Cast Out or reliable ways to deal with big creatures. And our counter spells are in there because we need more counter spells when we're coming up against the mirror. But it's worth noting as well, not having white means we don't have Dovin's Veto, which Dovin's Veto is so good in so many different matchups. So this allows you to stop whatever your opponent's up to or resolve one of your key threats a lot of the time. But yeah, that was Izzet Control. I'm going to shut up and move on. Remember, if you're interested in watching more Control, keep an eye on the channel. Maybe subscribe if you can be asked to do that. If not, don't worry. And yeah, like I said, Jeskai is going to be the next list we are playing on the channel. So I'm super excited for that, so stay tuned. But until next time, stay safe.